Michael Brown, that was an Akata. His daddy is an Akata. And it's a shame, because so he was just like destined. I always said any celebratory come Guzzler Harris by these mammies is all fake and phony. Because if any of these mammies supported that whore.
Nation, one nation, but joy cometh in the morning.
Come on, Joe!
We will get through this.
We gonna get through this together, y'all.
Together.
Ooh, Joe, we gonna get through this together. Oh yeah. No, y'all ain't even considered. Y'all ain't even in the vote. What's up, everyone? Axel here of Axetruth.com, and this is the Axetruth channel here, and this is where I cut through the bullshit, and we can there to cut through some bullshit and hit the brick wall of truth. That's what I have the brick wall up here for you. The brick wall of truth when it comes to this manipulation and of children and using children as a political football for the Democrat Party to get votes from the weird, the attention-seeking, and at the same time, they're driving voters away from them. See, the Democrat Party is really dumb. They have nothing. They have absolutely nothing to run on at this moment, and you know they have nothing to run on. They hung their whole campaign. They hung their whole campaign strategy on a huge lie that was told all over the world. And now they're scrambling for something to, I guess, to go into the midterms this year or something. I guess so now trans kids is one of them. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that, because people are going to have hard opinions about this. And it's not really an opinion. It's a fact. And I don't give a fuck what social media company or what anyone says about some kind of hate speech or nothing. I know something about trans and transitioning because I have my best friend is trans, and I know a lot of trans people old school trans adults who transition or was going to transition. But this manipulation and putting children in it is strictly something done for the pedophiles, for the adults that prey on children sexually. That's what this is all about. Talking to children about subjects that are too mature for them to even know anything about. Children don't know anything about their genital parts other than they use the bathroom. And they don't learn about it sexually till they get approximately to puberty. I know this for a fact. It happened with my nephew. He didn't even know what to call his, I didn't even know this. His mother told me. He came home and said someone kicked him in the vagina at 10. But he has a penis. It wasn't like they never talked to him about sex or anything like that, because was a subject that was not, and they're liberals. This is the funny thing about it. They're liberals, but they never talked to their children about anything with sex or sexual connotations or anything like that until they were of a mature age to even talk about it. But this is manipulation, and it's sad, but I'm glad Governor Abbott is doing this. Let's start with the Daily Wire here. Governor Abbott. Texas plans to investigate potentially prosecute instances of giving children sex reassignment surgery as child abuse. In a letter last week, State Governor Greg Abbott directed the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services to investigate certain so-called sex change procedures found to constitute child abuse under existing Texas law. Abbott citing the opinion by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. It is already against the law to subject Texas children to a wide variety of elective procedures for gender transitioning, including reassignment surgeries that could cause sterilization, mastectomies, removal of otherwise healthy body parts, and administration of puberty blockers, drugs, and surfaciologic doses of testosterone or estrogen. Texas law imposes reporting requirements upon all licensed professionals who have direct contact with children who may be subject to such abuse, including doctors, nurses, teachers, and providing criminal penalties for the failure to report such child abuse. There are similar reporting requirements and criminal penalties for members of the general public. Texas law also imposed the duties of DFPS to investigate the parent of a child who is subject to these abusive gender transitioning procedures on other state agencies to investigate licensed facilities which such procedures may occur. Texas' stance on some sex reassignment surgeries comes as transgenderism is in children, teens, and in athletics is growing an issue among state governments. Last year, Arkansas became the first state to ban such surgeries for minors. Good for them. A number of states have taken action to ban biological males from competing in female sports. Paxton's ruling follows an August DFPS finding that some transgender operations, when done on children, constitute child abuse. The DFPS ruling came after Abbott and the agency looked into whether such surgeries fell outside the treatment of allowable for gender dysphoric children and teens under Texas law. Genital mutilation of a child through reassignment surgery is child abuse, subject to all rules and procedures pertaining to child abuse. Such mutilation may cause a genuine threat and substantial harm from physical injury to the child. The surgical procedure physically alters the child's genitalia from non-medical purposes, potentially inflicting irreversible harm to the child's body. Generally, children in this case and custody of parents lack the legal capacity to consent to surgical treatments, making them more vulnerable. And I'm going to stop right there. I don't want to read the whole article. I'll put a link below. But I know something about this because back in the 90s, the people that the male to female transgender people I knew, back then, there were requirements to get a sex change. And I remember them telling me they had to go see a psychologist. They had to be signed off by a psychologist. And they have to have a letter after they've seen a psychologist for 2 years, signed off for, and this is before even castration. That means they cut the balls off. They have to go to a psychologist to make sure they're mentally knowing, to make sure they're not just mentally ill, or this is something that they're sound and really believe in gender dysphoria and all this thing. They had a requirement. It was a procedure in this. Even to get on hormones, they had to go see a psychiatrist before they can get prescribed hormones. Now, hey, you just go to the doctor and say, "I feel like a woman. I feel like I want to be a girl." They just write you a prescription of estrogen. Not estrogen. I think it's called Promarian. I think that's the estrogen pill, Promarian. And then I guess the female to male can get testosterone written from the doctor to inject into them because they feel like transitioning. And I just feel like this, we say you are not mature enough. A child is not mature enough. Boys are not mature enough. A child is not mature enough to know, to drink. You're not mature enough to smoke. You're not mature enough to shoot a gun. So what makes you mature enough to change your sex? What makes you mature enough to make that decision? No, you're not making that decision. The parent is making that decision. Or the narcissistic parent is looking for likes, clicks, and views and will use their child to join into this club of trans kids so they can get notoriety on the internet. That's what's going on. And that's sad, and that's child abuse. And any doctor that's seeing someone and prescribing hormone blockers and all this, they should be prosecuted for child abuse because a child is not mature enough to know this, and a parent should not be making that type of decision of a child when a child has not even reached the age to even know what sex is. But this is all about also depopulation and to stop people, to confuse kids, to make everyone this LGBT alphabet soup thing, to slow down the population. It's about that too. But most of all, it's about also sexualizing children before, so it'd be easier for the sexual predator to prey on them. Now in Texas, here is a woman sounding the alarm, and you'll see Beto O'Rourke, who is out here campaigning on with this lesbian kid that's basically wants to be a man. And a lot of these lesbians they call themselves, I guess, non-binary or what, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. They're lesbian, they're a town boy, they are more butch. We used to call them butch. They're butch, that's what it is. So they want to have a name for whatever it is because they don't want to be called a girl, so they say they're non-binary. Okay, well, do that. But not everyone wants to transition into being a man. But if you're mature enough to make that decision, have at it. But children, keep the children out of it. But this is about also these narcissists that are looking for attention, and they're using their kids, and it will put their kids up for something like this. And these are liberal women. They're sick.
If you are a transgender minor living in the state of Texas, listen. Right when you think Greg Abbott could not possibly get any worse after he abandoned all of Texas to freeze last year, he does. As of today, Greg Abbott has ordered that CPS, or Child Protective Services, now investigate every family of a transgender child for child abuse. It's right here. You can just Google it. Here it is. Not only that, but your teachers now are going to be fined if they do not report transgender children to CPS so they can be investigated for child abuse. It is a disgusting reminder that Republicans never cared about children. They only cared about unborn babies. Any child that is homeless, not white, or a part of LGBT, they do not give a about you. Republicans would rather watch transgender children K-word themselves than give them access to transitioning healthcare. With last year's freeze lifting COVID restrictions, and now this, Greg Abbott is responsible for the deaths of thousands of Texans. So, you, Greg Abbott.
I'm a non-binary youth in the education system of Texas. I was wondering what you were going to do to protect my rights and my parents' rights to be able to put me on testosterone. The trans suicide rate has been the highest it's ever been in Texas since those bills have been placed.
I mean, we're seeing people trying to take their lives right now, and it's a tough thing for us to talk about, but you're right, we should say it out loud. So we speak about everyone in this state with pride. We talk about a Texas that is big enough for all of us. We target no one based on any difference between us, whether it is the color of your skin, your country of national origin, or the fact that you are non-binary. I think you're amazing. I'm proud of you. I want you to do great things in this state, and I'm going to support you in doing that. And I'm going to say that publicly as the governor of this state. That's going to be a big change for Texas.
It just feels like he would be defending me and caring about my rights as a trans non-binary person. It feels like he'd care, and he'd actually listen to our voices and our thoughts about everything.
If you are a transgender minor...
Give me a fucking break. Mentally ill, attention-seeking gays.
It feels like he's talking about me and me.
He's talking about less than 0.02% of the population, and that's what he's campaigning for. But this is where the Democrats said, keep that up. Keep that up, Beto, because you're not going to be governor there. But keep that bullshit up. Make sure that's the top of your list, trans kids. Put that at the top of your list. And make sure and float that right on over to the DNC and make sure that that's what they put as their top priority with everything going on in the world. High gas prices, hyperinflation, wars starting everywhere. Afghanistan, the pull out there, the worst debacle ever in our foreign policy happened there. But you worry about these trans kids. Do that. But see, it gets even more sinister than this. Here's a woman with this is a woman with her transgendered son. I guess it's a female to male. I can't tell what it is. But this is what I'm talking about when it comes to the internet, and people are posting things about their transgendered child for clicks, likes, and views.
When I told my mom I wanted to...
I'm so tired of people saying that my son wants to be transgender because he wants to be like everybody else. If so, then he's the bravest motherfucker I've ever seen in my whole life. okay, wants to be like everybody else. Do you have any idea what it's like to be trans? Do you have any idea what it's like to be the mother of somebody who's transgender? To worry about their life every time they step foot out of your door. To have to worry about who's going to go to the bathroom with them so that assholes like that don't kill them while they're in there. I'm so tired of people saying that my son...
Can someone please tell me where is it that these trans kids are getting killed when they walk out the door? See? And she had the rainbow flowers in her head and all that and posting a TikTok. She fat. Yeah, I said, no, she ain't fat. She's morbidly obese. And her obese daughter who wants to be a boy, you know, or whatever, or just something she didn't talk her into. You know, talk that child into. And it's sad. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the child abuse, the parents of these, the sick liberal parents that are looking for clicks, likes, clicks, and views and clout on the internet. Now, it doesn't stop there, you know, and this is a child who just want to have short hair and look less girly, but yet they assume if a child wants to look more, that's usually a tomboy. But now, since trans kids is like the verbiage of the day, the soup of the day when it comes to these liberal lefts and making it into an issue, they're out here trying to force children into being trans.
When I told my mom I wanted to have my hair short and that I wanted to look less girly, when...
You know, and that's just a child who wants to look less girly. But yet, you have people that, oh, that means she wants to transition to a man. Now, it even gets more disgusting. Look at this. The Classroom Closet, a pride panel of queerness and education. This is at school. Come listen to a panel of LGBT students, teachers, and faculty discuss their experience in K through 12 educational system. January 21st, this is in 2014, this is old right here, but I'm going to show you what they're doing now. This is why we say this about public schools. You know, the public schools are basically overplaying their hand with this LGBTQ mess. If my child was in elementary school and any of this crap, if he came home talking to me about some rainbow shit, you talk about turning out the school and the school board and suing. See, that's what's going to need to happen. These parents are going to need to sue the school and accuse them of grooming your child for sexual predators. Now they have this thing called the transition closet. I want you to listen to this punk sit here and this grown man sit here and talk about telling the kids to bring their other, like, female, a male child to wear what the mother put on him to go to school, but when he gets to school, bring some dresses in, skirts, and he change at school and wear his dress at school. When I saw this, I said, what? When we know that some schools, when it comes to elementary school, they don't allow the girls to wear makeup to school. If the child wear makeup, the teacher asks them, "Did your parents know you have on makeup?" So now they want to do a transition closet. What else are you gonna be doing in that closet with these kids?
The goal of the transition closet is for our students to be able to wear the clothes that their parents approve of, come to school, and then swap out into the clothes that fit who they truly are. And I use the idea that this is like Superman changing in a phone booth. But that idea actually goes a lot further than that, because Superman isn't Clark Kent. Clark Kent is actually the disguise. And when Clark Kent goes into the phone booth, he transforms into Superman, who's really just who he truly is, Kal-El. And so this gives our trans students the opportunity to be the superheroes that we know they are. My principal just approved our district's first transition closet. We'll be working with the organization The Transition Closet to provide clothes for transgender, non-binary, and gender-exploring youth who maybe don't have the access or the safety to get those clothes in their personal lives. they'll be able to come to school and change into the clothes that make them feel more at home and more like themselves. And I just think that's lovely.
Are you disgusted? I am. I think whoever these teachers are that's talking like this, they should be brought up on charges. What you mean you're gonna allow that kid to do something that he's not allowed to do by the parent in their house? See, this is where they're jumping the shark with this shit. You know, you're overstepping and you're going into you're overstepping your bounds with a child and trying to tell and convince a child that they want to transition their sex. And this is before, they're talking about kids before puberty. You know, I'm going to read from this article here about maturity before I close this video out, and I'll put this link in there. Mental Health Daily said, at what age is the brain fully developed? It is widely debated to which age of the brain is considered fully mature. Now, I want you to get this. In the past, many experts believe that a brain may have been done developing in the mid to late teens. Then along came evidence that suggested that development may last until at least the age of 20. And that sounds more like it. These days, the consensus of neuroscientists agree that the brain development likely persists until at least the mid-20s and possibly until 30. And you know what? That's true. Because you know, when you're 18, 19, you're a young adult, you make foolish decisions because you're not mature enough. You make foolish decisions. It could be life-changing decisions that you make a mistake choosing to do something that you should not have done. So how in the hell do a child knows that they want to cut off their dick, cut off their breast, get a penis glued on? It said, although the brain is developed the brain development is subject to significant individual variations, most experts suggest the brain is fully developed by the age of 25. For some people, brain development may be complete prior to the age of 25, while others may end after the age of 25. So we're looking at the 20s and somewhere in that, depending on the individual. So how is it that a child, this is something we've all known when it comes to children, brain development, maturity. That's why we have the word mature. You're not mature enough to do this. You're not mature enough to do this. You're not mature enough to drink. You're not mature enough to have sex. Most people don't want their 13-year-old and 12-year-old having sex. Some people don't even want their 16-year-old having sex. But yet, in order to talk about homosexuality and transitioning and all this other crap, you have to talk about sex. Put your comments on this video. Let me know what you think about this. I'm glad Greg Abbott is doing this, potentially prosecuting these people. They need to be prosecuted for this. This is clearly child abuse. And anyone that is promoting this. These teachers that are sitting up here recording video about telling kids to bring clothes to school to wear that their parents would not allow them to wear to school. They're overstepping their bounds, and some lawsuits need to come. Put your comments below. Share my video. Subscribe to my channel. Join me tonight at 8:30 for Tacky Tuesdays.
The one world government, you can't make war with that. Why? There's no government to go against it. It consumes the world, but not God's elect. This is where you got to understand, and this is why you got to have strong faith, is to know as long as God is with you, who can be against you? Nobody. As long as you are armed with the sword of the Lord, the truth, and you understand what's happening in the world, God protects you. You and He make a majority, and you can count on that. You can believe it.